Yo, hey, what's going on everybody? Alex with you here again as usual. Thank you for dropping by for yet another chess video. Always great to see you guys. So by now, if you guys follow my channel, you realize that I've reviewed quite a number of different electronic chess sets. And so I've had some people inquire about maybe making a video to show people how can you go about powering up or charging some of your chessboards on the go. So I decided to make this video and hopefully more or less be helpful to some people and show you how I found a relatively easy way to help charge and power up my chessboards. It all started some time ago, which actually wasn't necessarily too relevant to chessboards, but I was in a situation, and I will be in a situation like this come fall time, where my daughter started elementary school last year, and I basically 3 days a week had to go in my car with my 4-year-old son to wait for her, where I would arrive to the school at 2:20 and the school would be let out at 3:50. I had the window of time between 2:20 and 3:50 with my 4-year-old boy, who basically would jump up and down all around the car, kind of bored and not knowing what to do. So I was looking for ways to maybe find some entertainment options for him. Okay, so he has a little Switch, a Nintendo Switch system like this, and but at some point I realized, maybe I could get something a little bit more advanced for him. So I was looking for a bigger gaming system, and I found 1X Player, which seemed to be a little bit more pricey. Some of them were over $1,000. So I thought to myself, well, for over $1,000, I could maybe get my boy a gaming laptop, which I could use myself, so it would have more uses out of it than just a big gaming thing, okay? That is when I found a relatively slightly used Alienware laptop that I've shown you guys before, that I did some of my Fritz testing on, in fact, that a guy on the Facebook was selling for, I think, about $900, and I was able to get it for $850 or so. It's a great laptop. No doubt, it's a great laptop. In fact, if you guys are looking for gaming laptops, Alienware makes really, really sturdy, good, highly functional laptops. But what I didn't realize, and this might be helpful to some people out there, when I initially purchased this, it has like 20-core i7, top of the line technology in there. I loaded up some games that he likes to play, like Halo and things like that, and some of the more like graphics demanding games, and everything was smooth and played really well when it was plugged into the wall. But as soon as you plug this system out of the wall, the performance dropped from 100% down to like 30% or even less. And I thought to myself, oh, this is really weird. But they specifically dropped the performance so that otherwise you get about maybe 15 minutes of battery life on high performance. Nevertheless, on lower performance, you still get about an hour, not even, maybe like 50 minutes. So yeah, I would bring this. I would bring a little controller, and he would play some games. But I started looking for some kind of an option of powering this up in the car while we wait for an hour and 30 minutes. And I found something of a power bank similar to this, but a different one, on Amazon, that claimed that it would be sufficient enough to power up a laptop. Now this laptop here has a huge power bank, 240 watts, okay? I was looking specifically for a solution. So I read up online and I bought this 300 watt power block, similar to this. I bought it. It arrived in about a week. I plugged it in. I plugged this in here. I started up the game. And the power block would basically, it wouldn't have enough charge, or it wouldn't have enough power. It would like reset every second. And I thought to myself, well, that won't do. So I had to literally pack it up and ship it out. And then I tried a couple of different car inverters and things didn't work out. So a 300 watt wouldn't pull it. A 600 watt wouldn't pull it for some reason. And I thought to myself, you know what? Don't worry about it. Forget it. Yes, I had brought this with me quite a few days, and it worked out for me. But then at some point, I ended up getting a different gaming system for him. This is the Steam Deck. Steam Deck is a great little system that also runs Windows and all these video games and everything. And I thought, well, that's great. But once again, if he plays the games about an hour at most, 50 minutes to an hour, and the battery is dead. So then I really started looking for some kind of a power bank that I could take with me, that I could plug in his devices, or whether it's the computer, or whether it's the Steam Deck or whatever. That is when I stumbled upon this little guy, and it's the BLUETTI EB3A 600 watt, 268 watt hour device, okay? The cool thing about this right here is that I bought it for like $206 or something like that. They were running a sale. I'm not being affiliated with this company or anything. I just wanted to kind of find a helpful way for some people that, as you guys will see here in just a second. As far as the connections here, we have the USB-C here that can do a maximum of 100 watts, which is great. And then we have a couple of USB-A ports. We have a port where you plug this into the wall to charge it. It charges in approximately 1 hour. And then you have a couple of regular like home outlets here for if you want to plug in something directly into this, like a laptop here. I can just plug this power unit here, and it works. Okay, there's a little there's a little car port over here if you need that, and it's got a little light here, so that's kind of neat. And you know, it's on top over here. You have a little handle that you can use to transport this, really convenient. And then an output of 15 watt wireless charger here for your phone. On the side here, it has a couple of different fans that once it starts to kind of being utilized at its full potential, it will want to cool itself down essentially. So that's really, really cool. I found that I finally found a device that'll actually power up this on its full power. If you're running Fritz on this, I will show you guys here in just a second about how it works. But this is the first device that actually is powerful enough for me to be able to plug this laptop in fully and either run Fritz on it, full analysis, or run any video games I want to run on it. And so that's really the number one reason why I bought this, okay? Now, given that if I'm having this in the car and it's fully charged and I'm playing a video game or something very intense here, this might last me an hour and 10 minutes or so, but at least we're gonna get full 100% performance with that. So, and then whenever this stops working, I will still have the battery life of the laptop, so things work out, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys here in just a second about how it works. If I plug in the laptop by itself here, you guys might be able to see that we're doing 125, 150, 160, 154, so somewhere in that range depending on how much juice the laptop requires. So the maximum I believe that it will take is about 240 watts. But yeah, if right now we're doing 132, 125, so there's a little bit of variable there. But if I go to Fritz, okay, and I go to enter and analyze, okay, I should start to see that this number is gonna start to go. So infinite analysis. Here we go. Once we start putting for infinite analysis, check it out. It went from 100 and something, 130 to 217 watts. That shows you that if you have a laptop, okay, and this becomes more applicable and practical to some of us chess players out there. If you have a laptop that's relatively powerful like mine, which is the Alienware here, and you want to take this laptop with you somewhere, maybe where you don't have a power block, check this out. It started warming up here because it's running the analysis right now, and so it's utilizing everything that the computer can have. It's eating up a lot of juice. If you're running Fritz, if for example somewhere like in, you know, you take the laptop with you and you want to just sit there and analyze some games, You have to be aware that your battery is going to get eaten up very quick. So unless you have a power bank like this and you want to do some analysis work, if you don't have the power supply, if you don't have the way to plug this into the wall, you're gonna run out of battery life very quickly. Alrighty, so now that we see the practical aspect of having one of these, if you, let's say, are running Fritz, you might ask me, well, in most situations, if I'm running Fritz, I'm running it at home, in a hotel. Even if I go to the school setting, if for example, you're some kind of an organizer or something of a chess event, and you want to have the computer open in front of you and you want to be running Fritz for one reason or another, you're likely to have a wall outlet somewhere. That may not necessarily be the case. A lot of chess events and chess tournaments sometimes happen in like a gym, a school gym or something. And even though you might find a spot where you're relatively close to a wall outlet, that may not always be the case. And sometimes if you have to resort to having to utilize extension cords to run your cord across the room, and having to find a spot to plug it in, it may not necessarily be convenient. We cannot always rely on there being a wall outlet everywhere we go for these type of things. Okay, so and especially in a situation where you might be in a smaller room and you might need to run an extension plug across the room somewhere, and you tell everybody, please don't trip over my cord, because if you do, my laptop or my chessboard is going to go flying. It may not necessarily be convenient. If you guys have seen me review this board at some point earlier, this is the Millennium King. During that review video, I mentioned to you guys that the Millennium King, at least my board, perhaps a newer, more design edition of this board might be different, but my board does not have an internal battery. So this board actually will not turn on by itself without a cord. So that was one of the disadvantages that I mentioned when I did the review of the Millennium King, is that because it does not have the battery inside of it, like most of the other chessboards do, you can't play this unless you have an actual wall outlet. So I could never, until now, have taken this board with me as a way to maybe play in the car. Now you could say, this board a little bit bigger perhaps than some of the other boards. Not super convenient for you to play in a car while you wait. A lot more convenient to utilize your cell phone or whatever. But you know what? This provides you a physical board to play on. It's a nice board otherwise. If it had a battery inside of it, that'd be great, but it doesn't. Although you might be able to find an extension that you could plug this into your car outlet. If you're waiting for a long time in your car, you don't necessarily want to deplete the battery of your car, especially if you need to start moving here soon and your battery was weak to begin with, and then you depleted it, and then there's cars behind you and in front of you, and you have to start moving, and then you can't turn on your car when you have to pick up your kid. That would be a lot of stress that none of us need. This board, the Millennium King, you can also separately purchase a little battery pack for like $100 that will come specifically for this board, which you could. If you have this board specifically, you can buy the battery pack, and then that'll solve that problem. However, that battery pack is relatively small, so how many games are you really going to get out of it realistically? Not to mention that you're spending $100 and you're only going to be able to utilize that battery pack specifically for this, whereas this device I bought for only twice as much, so $206, and I can use this for everything. If we go ahead and plug in this board into our little device here, I'm gonna show you guys here, and then we have to turn this on. Here we go, we turn it on, and as soon as we turn it on, we see that we are getting, as we will see here, it's almost not really taking any battery even while you're playing, okay? And that's a good sign, because it shows you that by having something like this, you can basically fix the problem of having to have a portable power device for the Millennium King. So you could say, okay, well, for me in my car, it makes sense to have some kind of a device like this. But how about for most of the other people? Well, there's going to be some situations where I may not necessarily see the practicability of it. But there's going to be other people. Well, okay, let's say for example you want to go out camping and you want to bring your Millennium King with you. Yeah, this device is probably about 5 pounds, and if you're going out camping like backpacking or something, may not be the most convenient thing, but then again, you're bringing this device for other things other than the chess set. But let's say, for instance, you just want to get away from the daily hustle, you want to get away from all the distractions, you want to go somewhere out in nature, set up a little tent somewhere, bring your Millennium King chessboard or any of your other ones, and play a few games. Now, you could say if you're going camping, then, you know, why would you be playing chess if you could be playing chess at home? But sometimes, especially if you want to just get away and have a distraction-free time to yourself where you can just sit there and play your games, play your chess games without worrying that somebody's going to interrupt you, somebody's going to run in, and that might be something that you're looking for, okay? And if you have a device like this, you set up your tent, you got your little campfire, maybe you want to have a little overhead lamp or something that you want to plug in so you can see your pieces in the evening. That might be something that's, you know, that some people are looking for, okay? But yeah, so this particular device will power up my Millennium King for, it says here, based on the consumption, that I'm going to get 30 hours plus with this. And that's a good thing, because I don't necessarily want to worry about, like, I did the review of the SquareOFF Swap recently, and on the box it said the full battery will get us about 15 games. Now, 15 games sounds like a lot. If you're taking the board with you somewhere, camping or whatnot, you're not likely to play 100 games. I mean, some of us might be, but just the thought of like, well, I might not have electricity where I'm going, but I'll get my 15 games, possibly, or not. So when you get in there and you play a few games and you're like, well, I better stop now because my battery's going to deplete. So if I really want to make this last, you know, and you would not have to have that worry with a power bank like this, okay? So that shows us that, you know, a device like the Millennium King will work pretty well from here. As soon as I plug it out, the board immediately turns off since there's no internal battery. Some of the more advanced boards, like for example the SquareOFF Swap here, might have to utilize a little bit more power consumption. As we see here in standard on mode, I just plugged it in, basically turn it on. We're looking at a stable 10 watt, but now again, the SquareOFF actually has a battery. So it primarily utilizes the power that it needs for powering on the board from the battery. Then I plugged this in separately. I'm guessing it basically draws from this device 10 watts continuously. Now my question would be, and I haven't tested this out, but during actual play where it moves the pieces and everything is moving and everything's automated, how much power is the board drawing out of the battery? As we will see here, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the game with the AI for full automation. So it's checking all the pieces, make sure all the pieces are in place as I have all the pieces here. And I'm just going to go ahead and, yep, turn on 10-minute game. We're just going to see if that number changes. 25, 37, 16, 14, 12, 10. There was a burst of power that it required to move the pieces. Once again, I don't know if you guys can see these numbers here, but we are at 10 right now. 32. So it jumps up to 32, and then it quickly goes down. That's interesting to see. So it's drawing power into the battery, but as the arm moves around underneath the board, it actually draws a lot more power. As I was actually telling you guys when I did the review to this particular board, that it's going to utilize the battery a lot quicker if you're doing automated games. On the box, it didn't necessarily say whether those 15 games are going to be fully automated with all pieces moving and everything, or whether it was for a game that you don't include the automated pieces option. So here we go. It's moving the piece 42. So I think the biggest I've seen was 42 watts. At least that tells us one thing, and that's an important thing. as it draws the power out of the battery, or it could even bypass that. If it's plugged in, as we see it being plugged in here, it could be bypassing the battery altogether and just drawing power straight out of the cord. Assuming that it realizes that it's plugged into the wall, why bother? Okay, so that's an interesting observation that we've made with the board. Like I said, you will need a lot more power if the pieces are moving versus if you're just playing without the moving pieces. Now, I did want to show you guys this just for common curiosity, but instead of doing a classical game like I've shown you guys before, where the device arm has to move at a certain speed, I'm going to try it with the Blitz 3-minute game and see if we are seeing a higher amount of power utilized by the hand moving quicker. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 3-minute with 2-second increment, which is one of the options available on the SquareOFF. And yeah, let's go ahead and let's square off at full automation. And let's go. It shows that we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and I'm going to move my piece here. And we are going to go 25, 30, 11, 10. Hopefully you guys are able to see it. Did it say 50? I think it said 50 at some point. Let's see. 41, 42, 39. Let's see. Yeah. Not so much. Not so much. So the power consumption is kind of similar. So that means that the arm is not utilizing that much more energy than, you know, if it was playing classical game. All right, now with the SquareOFF Pro board, as we see here, while the board is turned on and charging, we're only getting like 2 watts, which is, it's gonna last you for a very long time. But that's only when you're not playing, okay? If we go ahead and start the game, once again, let's just go ahead and do, let's do play against the AI. And with the clock, we're gonna go ahead and see if, okay, the game is starting, so we're still seeing 2. So nothing changes when the lights go on. We're still drawing about 2 watts over here. So, but we've kind of anticipated that it won't take as much energy as the moving board here because there's no actual physical pieces moving. There's just little LED lights that turn on, and then the game plays. Because when the lights turn on, we're not seeing any spike here, and it only stays at a constant 2 watts. Probably what's going on is you don't have a direct pass-through between the battery into the game. Like I'm guessing it's utilizing the board's charge from the battery, and then the battery from the other side is receiving a constant charge as we are playing. So it might not necessarily be the case, but we can see that it's really not drawing too much power here, only 2 watts as we play. Nevertheless, the battery here isn't significantly large, so although you could probably get quite a few games out of this before the battery dies, if you're taking this particular board with you somewhere like camping or, you know, anywhere that you go traveling, as long as you have a table to play on with this board, it might not necessarily be a bad idea to have some kind of a power bank just in case. Some of us, you know, we start playing a few games here, you don't realize you played quite a few, and then before you know it, the disadvantages of having an electronic chessboard to begin with is the fact that, you know, the battery could die as opposed to like a regular chess set. But then with a regular chess set, you need to play with somebody. The Chessnut EVO, actually my new favorite board out of all the different ones that I have. I'm serious. I played 6 games today. It was fully charged in the morning at 100%. I played 6 games against the AI, and I'm at 90% right now. So I plugged this in. It plugs in through the USB-C once again. Looks like a constant charge of 6 watts here. It's reasonable, not too much, not too little. And yeah, I have to say this is an awesome board. The board that most people don't even have yet because it's in pre-production. It's an awesome board, guys. I love this board quite a lot. And one of the biggest things that I've mentioned and when I reviewed this video, the way that I like to use this board is I like to just take the board and put it on my lap. And I'll sit somewhere and it's a marvel. I don't have to, like I could do that with the Chessnut Air board, but then you have to have your like phone and stuff and you have to find a way to like prop up your phone so you can see and make sure like you've got everything ready. But here, like I don't even know where my phone is. That's the coolest part. Like I don't care at this point. I'm not tied to my phone and it's a great feeling. You can just plug this in and just sit it, like I set it on my lap in the morning. My kids were watching TV. My wife was just relaxing. And I was in the same room. I had this. I was playing against the AI, the career mode and everything. I loved it. I love the way the board is. Like no glitches or anything. But we see that, yeah, 5, 6, somewhere in that range. Let's see, turn on the, let's start a game. I'm going to just go ahead and do a career mode game. And we'll go ahead and start it. So what do we see about numbers? 8. So it went from like 5 or 6 to 8, 9, 8 and 9. What I'm interested to see though, we're going to go ahead and, I don't want to do this, but we're just going to go ahead and cancel. See, I just lost some points, whatever. I want to go with a bot match and I want to put in like the highest available stockfish, for example. Yeah, 2,850 is going to be the highest. So I actually want to see, and I'm going to be playing as white, and I'm going to go ahead and start. Unlimited time. I want to see if this will change depending on the, okay, 8, 8, we're still at 8. Yeah, I don't think it's changing. 9. Okay. Let's see if this will change. All right, 9, 8, 8. So yeah, we see that if you're playing on a lower ELO with the computer versus if you're playing at a high ELO, I had a suspicion that maybe if we crank up the ELO, especially on the computer, because it might take more time for the computer to analyze all the different variations, that maybe it would draw a little bit more power. But perhaps it is drawing a little bit more power out of the internal battery of the device, but I doubt it because I don't know. I don't see that there's going to be really that much of a difference there, which is good to see because I thought to myself, well, for people that are playing more advanced games, are they going to run out of their battery quicker? But in this case, I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the case, okay? Actually, one of the ways that I've been using this this little charge device here with the Chessnut is I'll have this table here in my office, and sometimes I'll just leave this board on the table there, and in the evening I'll just put this little device right up on the table and plug it in, just like we're seeing right now with the cord, and that's it. And then in the morning I'll just come back and unplug the device and it's all fully charged. Now you could say, why bother? I mean, you can just plug this in directly to the wall, but I don't know. Just ever since I've started having this device, it's so much easier. I don't even need to move my chessboards around. If I have a chessboard somewhere on a bookshelf or something, I can just directly put this over there and charge it. I don't have to like mess around. Oh, I need to find a spot for to plug it into the wall, so I need to move the board. Think about it. It's so much more convenient for me to just put it right there next to the board, plug it in, and forget about it. Right over here, I have the chessboard turned on. It looks like without actually playing a game, we are at 10 watts right now, about 9-10 watts. Seems like 10 is the average with a lot of these boards. I'm assuming that 10 is kind of the maximum that these batteries are designed to take in. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the pieces and we'll take a look how many watts it takes in within the game. So with the Chessnut board, when the pieces are fully set up, if I turn the board off, we do still notice that we got 10 watts. That basically it's using 10 watts to charge the battery. If we turn the board on and the board is fully functional, it looks like it kind of went up to 12 and then went back to 10, which means that it's probably not really taking in the power from the wall to sort of keep the board active. It utilizes the board's battery in order to play the board, and then whatever additional charge you provide it just goes into the battery, kind of the same way we've seen with the SquareOFF Pro. While playing the game, it looks to me like we still got about 10 watts. So there's really going to be no differences here as far as the change. There's no variation like we've seen with the SquareOFF Swap. There was variation in when the bait game was playing. Here, there's no change in the wattage. I plugged in the Chessnut Air board here into the USB-C cord, just like we did with the other boards, and we're seeing that it's really not taking a lot of power. It's doing like 2 watts here. So at least while we're not playing the game, while the board's not connected to the phone or anything, it's charging slow. So it's good to see that it's not a very high consumptive board. While we're playing an actual game against the AI here, I see that the number isn't really going up or down that much. It stays at about 2. In fact, it's right about from somewhere between 0 and 2. So like I said before, the smaller the board like this, that really only utilizes some small LED lights, and the Bluetooth is the energy efficient Bluetooth, we're really not expending a whole lot of energy, which is a good thing actually, because that way the battery will last for a considerable amount of time. No matter how big or small the battery is, it seems like it's doing really well. So that's good to see. Likewise with the Chessnut Pro board here, it's using like 2 watts, so similar to most of the other boards. We're kind of starting to see a pattern here. I could bring out some of my other electronic boards, but it seems like we can more or less conclude by saying that if you have a chess board that is an electronic chess board and it plugs in through some kind of a USB, whether it's a USB micro or a USB-C, it seems like more or less these boards are not consuming a lot of energy unless they are going to be like the boards with moving pieces. So if you have the SquareOFF Kingdom, or if you have the SquareOFF Swap or the Neo, if there's a moving, actual physical moving arm that moves the pieces around, then we're probably likely to see that consuming a little bit more energy. Let me just kind of conclude by saying that, okay, so once again, you guys might say, what's the point of having something like this if most of these boards have a battery inside of them? And I agree. In most situations, you know, you're gonna go somewhere, and if you're taking your electronic board with you, then there's likely to be enough battery in it for you to play the games that you're intending to play. But there's always going to be special circumstances if you think about it. If, for example, you have some kind of a cabin in the woods somewhere where you just like to get away and you basically go off the grid and spend the weekend there. And if you have, like I said, most of the people that are watching my video may not necessarily be, you know, in that situation. But if you are one of those people and you like to play chess and you like to get away and just have your own weekend to yourself, distraction free or whatever, you go there and you want to have the ability to power up your chessboards, because maybe you leave all your chessboards there and you don't charge them. You don't take them home with you to charge. So you don't know whether or not you're going to have any battery when you go there. Maybe you go there once every 5 months or so. Maybe by that time, even fully charged chessboards could have discharged. If you had a unit like this, you could take it with you as long as it's charged, and you can power up all your chessboards, including like in a situation if you are somewhere out in the woods playing chess, Sounds weird, but you also might need a light, maybe like like a bulb above you, because if you're playing in the evening, you need to see, right? So, that would make sense. But like I said, for me, even though most of those scenarios are not necessarily applicable to me, I bought this initially for a different purpose, and it seems to me like it's fitting my purpose right now pretty well. The biggest thing that I use it for nowadays, besides plugging in the video game systems and whatnot, is just I have the board here. Let's say I have the Chessnut Pro, or I have the Chessnut EVO, or I have the ChessUp, or the SquareOFF. I have them somewhere, maybe at a table with all the pieces set up. I don't want to have to pick them all up and take them somewhere to a different room or relocate so that I could charge. I don't want to have a big long extension cord somewhere, or try to find where I can find that outlet and move things around. It's a lot more easier for me to just put this on the table right next to the board, plug it in, and leave it. Or if I'm playing and I'm in the middle of the game and maybe my board's starting to, the battery's starting to go down, I don't want to have to move everything around. I can just put this in, continue my game. Okay, so I find this to be kind of one of those things that's useful after you obtain it. Obviously, I've had the usefulness of it realized when it now powers my laptop in a way that I wanted it to. But now I'm seeing and discovering sort of the additional features of really using this to power up some of my chessboards. I know this video is kind of running tangent as far as most of the topics we see here are specifically focused on chessboards, chess sets, and this is kind of more or less relevant, maybe not so much. Let me know what you think in the comments below if you have some kind of an output unit, because the thing is, I started off with something like this. This is the My Charge little power bank that has two little USB-A ports here, and you plug it in by putting it to the wall, and this will save you in situations where maybe your phone is dying and you plug this in and it allows you to charge your phone. But anything bigger, you may have to use something like this, So let me know in the comments what you think about this, and be sure to hit that like and stay tuned for more videos, okay?